Ustad Bismillah Khan, the legendary Shehnai maestro from India, was born into the family of musicians on March 21, 1916. He was one of the few artists who received all the 4 Padma awards named Padma Shri, Padma Vibhushan, Padma Bhushan, and topped with the India's highest civilian honor, the Bharat Ratna, in 2001. He was an undisputed jewel in the crown of Indian music. Hello children, I am Needu, your English teacher. Today we are gonna study the second part of chapter 2, the Shehnai of Bismillah Khan. Here we will learn more about Bismillah Khan as well as the origin of Shehnai. Now we can move directly to the chapter, and this is how our chapter begins. Emperor Aurangzeb banned the playing of a musical instrument called pungi in the royal residence, for it had a shrill, unpleasant sound. When the Mughals ruled India before the Britishers came, there was a very famous Mughal ruler named Aurangzeb. He did not like the musical instrument named pungi, which was played in the royal residence, because he felt that it had a shrill, unpleasant sound, very sharp, unpleasant sound is produced by this pungi. That's why what he did, he banned that musical instrument in his royal residence or in his court. Pungi became the generic name for reeded noisemakers. So, any musical instrument which is made with reeds, like we have flutes and all, they all are classified as pungi. So, pungi is a broad term for any type of instrument which uses wind to produce sound. Okay. Few had thought that it would one day be revived. Revived means brought back to life. So, as Aurangzeb has banned all these reeded noisemakers, he had banned pungi in his royal residence, isn't it? So, no one thought that one day such noisemakers, such instrument which made unpleasant sound would be played again, and their sound would be liked by the audience. A barber of a family of professional musicians who had access to the royal palace decided to improve the tonal quality of the pungi. As the pungi had an unpleasant sound, it is banned in the court, isn't it? There lived a barber who belonged to a family of professional musicians, and he also knew about it. So what he did, he wanted to play the pungi, but he knew the sound produced by pungi was unpleasant. So what he did, he decided to improve the sound. Tonal quality means improve the sound of that musical instrument. He chose a pipe with a natural hollow stem that was longer and broader than the pungi, and made 7 holes on the body of the pipe. So what he did, this barber took a pipe which was a hollow stem. Hollow means empty from inside. Okay. It was longer and broader than the pungi. And what he did, he made 7 holes on the body of the pipe. If you have seen a flute, it is something like this. It's a pipe which is hollow from inside and has holes on it. When he played on it, closing and opening some of these holes, soft and melodious sounds were produced. Then what he did, then he blew air into the pipe and closed and opened different holes. He found that soft and melodious sounds were produced when he did like that. He played the instrument before royalty, and everyone was impressed. When the barber played this instrument in the royal court before the king, everyone liked the sound produced by that new instrument. The instrument, so different from the pungi, had to be given a name. Now a new instrument is made. Now what's the next thing? A name should be given. The royal court, that means the royal members, the members in the court thought this instrument should be given a name. As the story goes, since it was played in the Shah's chambers and was played by a nai, that means barber. The instrument was named the Shehnai. Now the story behind the name given to this instrument is this instrument was played for the first time in the royal residence of the Shah. Shah was a name given to king. Actually, Mughals called the kings as Shah. Okay, as the nai, that is an Indian term used for barber, had played it for the first time, they called it Shehnai. So the first part is Shah, which stands for Shah, and the second part Nai, that is a barber. So this instrument was named as what? Shehnai. Now we can move to the second paragraph. The sound of the Shehnai began to be considered auspicious. Auspicious means yes, something which brings good luck. Okay, the sound which was produced by Shehnai was considered to be good omen, something which brings good luck, and so it was played on good occasions. And for this reason, it is still played in temples and is an indispensable component of any North Indian wedding. Indispensable means without which a piece of work cannot be done, something which is necessary, that means unavoidable. Okay, you can hear Shehnai being played at many temples and weddings. Okay, in the past, the Shehnai was part of the Naubat, or traditional ensemble of 9 instruments found at royal courts. The Shehnai was part of the Naubat. Naubat is an Urdu word and it means traditional ensemble, that means a traditional group of 9 instruments. Okay, traditional group of 9 musical instruments. These 9 musical instruments were played at the royal court before the king, and Shehnai was also a part of Naubat. Till recently, it was used only in temples and weddings. The credit for bringing this instrument onto the classical stage goes to Ustad Bismillah Khan. The Shehnai was played at the king's court, in temples, weddings and all. It was used on the stage performances, and the credit for playing that musical instrument on the stage goes to whom? Ustad Bismillah Khan was a legendary Shehnai player and people wanted to hear him play Shehnai. Okay, so that's what second paragraph. Look at the third. As a 5-year-old, Bismillah Khan played Gilli Danda near a pond in the ancient estate of Damraon in Bihar. So in the first 2 paragraphs we said about the origin of Shehnai. From here onwards we are going to study about Ustad Bismillah Khan. First, about his childhood days. As a 5-year-old boy, he lived in an old estate named Damraon in present-day Bihar. He used to play Gilli Danda, an old sport or old game quite similar to cricket. Okay, he would regularly go to the nearby Biharji temple to sing the Bhojpuri Chaita, at the end of which he would earn a big laddu weighing 1.25 kg, a prize given by the local Maharaja. Laddu, I think you know it, isn't it? Yes. Also, he would go to nearby Biharji temple. After this game, he'll go to a temple. Okay. Although Bismillah Khan was a Muslim, he would go to the temple and he would sing the song Chaita. Chaita is a recital, okay, to praise God. Praising God, songs will be sung. Chaita in Bhojpuri language. Bhojpuri language is spoken in an area of Bihar. When he would finish reciting the song, he would get what? A big laddu as a reward, and the weight of that laddu was, you might have noticed it. How much it is? Yes, 1.25 kg, one laddu itself. Okay, this was a prize given to Bismillah Khan by local Maharaja for what? For singing the Chaita. This happened 80 years ago, and the little boy has travelled far to earn the highest civilian award in India, the Bharat Ratna. The writer says that this incident occurred when Bismillah Khan was 5 years old, earning that laddu, okay, that he would get this laddu as a reward. And after 80 years, Bismillah Khan earned the highest civilian award in India. What's that? The Bharat Ratna. So this is the distance that he has travelled in his life. At 5 years of age, he would get a 1.25 kg laddu as a reward, and at age of 80, he received the highest civilian award in India. that is the Bharat Ratna. Now we can move to the next para. Born on 21st March 1916, Bismillah belongs to a well-known family of musicians from Bihar. From here onwards, we are going to study something more about his family. His grandfather, before that, when was he born? Bismillah Khan was born on 21st March 1916 in a family of musicians in Bihar. His grandfather, Rasul Baks Khan, was the Shahnai Nawaz of the Bhojpur king's court. His father, Paigambar Baks, and other paternal ancestors were also great Shahnai players. Paternal ancestors means ancestors of the father. Okay. Yes. The lineage of the father's side was full of great Shahnai players. Okay. The part from his father's family, while we say about his father's family, many Shahnai players are there. We can say that Bismillah Khan acquired the skill of playing Shahnai genetically itself from his ancestors. His grandfather was a great Shahnai player. He played the Shahnai in the court of Bhojpur king. His father and all paternal ancestors were also great Shahnai players. Now we are moving to next. The young boy took to music early in life. That means Bismillah Khan also started learning music at an early age. At the age of 3, age of 3, when his mother took him to his maternal uncle's house in Banaras. Banaras, that's a place now in Varanasi. Bismillah was fascinated watching his uncles practice the Shahnai. So, when Bismillah Khan was just 3 years old, his mother took him to her parents' house. To his maternal uncles. Maternal means related to her mother. Maternal uncles means a lineage of one's mother's side. Okay, they lived in Banaras. I told you, where is it? Varanasi now. And when Bismillah Khan saw his maternal uncles play the Shahnai, he was attracted towards it, and he also wanted to learn playing it at the age of 3. Okay. Soon, Bismillah started accompanying his uncle Ali Baks to the Vishnu temple of Banaras, where Baks was employed to play the Shahnai. His uncle Ali Baks was an employee as a worker at the temple. Okay, Bismillah Khan started going with his uncle Ali Baks to the Vishnu temple in Banaras. Ali Baks was on duty to play the Shahnai at the Vishnu temple of Banaras. That's why he went there daily. Bismillah Khan also accompanied him. Ali Baks would play the Shahnai and Bismillah would sit captivated for hours on end. Captivated means attracted. Okay, on end means for a very long time without stopping, continuously. When Bismillah Khan saw his uncle Ali Baks play the Shahnai, he would get attracted towards it, and he would sit there for hours listening to him playing the Shahnai. Slowly, he started getting lessons in playing the instrument and would sit practicing throughout the day. Gradually, Bismillah Khan also started learning playing the Shahnai, and he would practice throughout the day. He never got tired. He was that much captivated, attracted by the musical instrument named Shahnai. For years to come, the temple of Balaji and Mangala Maya and the banks of Ganga became the young apprentice's favorite haunts, where he would practice in solitude. Apprentice means trainee, a person who trains. For many years, Ustad Bismillah Khan remained in Banaras. He would visit the temple of Balaji, the temple of Mangala Maya, some gods' names, would remain on the bank of river Ganga, where he would practice. He would sit there and practice playing the Shahnai all by himself. The flowing waters of Ganga inspired him to improvise and invent ragas that were earlier considered to be beyond the range of the Shahnai. Here we come to know about the talent of Ustad Bismillah Khan. He was so inspired and motivated by river Ganga. It provoked him to improve his performance, and he also invented many ragas that were considered impossible to be produced by that musical instrument, Shehnai. Okay, Bismillah Khan worked hard and invented different sounds with this Shehnai. So he would sit at the bank of the river Ganga and produced or invented more ragas. We are moving to next para. At the age of 14, Bismillah accompanied his uncle to the Allahabad Music Conference. When Bismillah Khan was 14 years of age, he accompanied his uncle Ali Bugs to the Allahabad Music Conference. At the end of his recital, Ustad Fayaz Khan patted the young boy's back and said, "Work hard and you shall make it." So, what's the meaning of the word recital? Performance. Ustad Fayaz Khan, he was a renowned classical vocalist at that time. Ustad Fayaz Khan was impressed by his performance and said that if he would work hard like that, he would make a name in the field of music. Okay. Then, with the opening of the All India Radio in Lucknow in 1938 came Bismillah's big break. He soon became an often heard Shehnai player on radio. When the All India Radio started its radio station at Lucknow, Ustad Bismillah Khan started performing from there. Often his Shehnai performance would be on air always. When India gained independence, we are moving to next para. When India gained independence on 15th August 1947, Bismillah Khan became the first Indian to greet the nation with his Shehnai. Great. Ustad Bismillah Khan was the first Indian to greet the entire nation through his Shehnai. He played the Shehnai from the Red Fort on this special day, memorable occasion. He poured his heart out into Rag Kafi from the Red Fort to an audience which included Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who later gave his famous Tourist with Destiny speech. Okay, the raga that was played by Ustad Bismillah Khan on that occasion of the independence of India was Rag Kafi. The names of ragas, different names of ragas are the different kinds. Ragas are the on that particular day, on that special day, he played which one? Rag Kafi. He played it from the Red Fort, and after his performance, the first Prime Minister of India, after the performance of Ustad Bismillah Khan, the first Prime Minister of India, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, gave his speech. That speech is known as Tourist with Destiny. That's a title given to that speech, first speech of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. So before the speech of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, Ustad Bismillah Khan's Rag Kafi was played on that special day, on that historical day. Bismillah Khan has given many memorable performances both in India and abroad. His first trip abroad was to Afghanistan, where King Zahir Shah was so taken in by the maestro that he gifted him priceless Persian carpets and other sovereigns. So, Bismillah Khan gave many performances in India and abroad. Not only in India, he went abroad too. Some of them are memorable, like the one of Afghanistan. The king of Afghanistan, King Zahir Shah, really liked Bismillah Khan's performance, and he gifted him many things which were made in Afghanistan, like Persian carpets and so on. So, Ustad Bismillah Khan would remember his first visit abroad, that was to Afghanistan. Then, the king of Afghanistan was not only one to be fascinated with Bismillah's music. Film director Vijay Bhatt was so impressed after hearing Bismillah play at a festival that he named a film after the instrument called Goonj Uti Shehnai. There were many other people who were attracted to Shehnai's music. Goonj Uti Shehnai was a name of a Hindi movie made by Vijay Bhatt. He was a film director, and he really liked the sound of the Shehnai played by Bismillah Khan, and that's why he named his movie Goonj Uti Shehnai. The film was a hit, and one of Bismillah Khan's compositions, Dil Ka Khilona Hai Toot Gaya, I'm not singing it now. Okay, so such a song is the composed by great Bismillah Khan. It turned out to be a nationwide chartbuster. Chartbuster means record breaker. There was a song in movie Gunjudi Shahnai named Dil Ka Khilona Hai Toot Gaya, was composed by Ustad Bismillah Khan, and it became a chartbuster. Okay, it broke the record. Despite this huge success in the celluloid world, Bismillah Khan's ventures in film music were limited to two: Vijay Bhatt's Gunchudi Shahnai and Vikram Srinivas' Kannada venture Sannati Appanna. Celluloid means old-fashioned way of referring to films. Okay, films. Celluloid means films. Okay, although this song was a chartbuster, Bismillah Khan got a lot of success in this film, but he composed music for only two more films. The names of the movies were, which are those? First one we already told, Gunchudi Shahnai, made by Vijay Bhatt, and one more movie he composed. One movie music he composed, Kannada movie made by Vikram Srinivas called Sannati Appanna. I just can't come to terms with the artificiality and glamour of film world, he says with emphasis. Emphasis means with stress. He stressed. Okay, Ustad Bismillah Khan would say that he did not like the artificial world of films. And we know that the things which are shown in films are not original. Everything is artificial. So he doesn't like it much. Or he is not much attracted towards that artificial world and the glamour that was there in film world. That's why he did not compose music for many movies. Okay. We are moving to the next. Awards and recognitions came thick and fast. Lots and awards were got to him. Bismillah Khan got a lot of recognition. He was honored with lots of awards. Bismillah Khan became the first Indian to be invited to perform at the prestigious Lincoln Center Hall in the United States of America. He also took part in the World Exposition in Montreal, in the Chinese Cannes Art Festival, and in the Osaka Trade Fair. So Bismillah Khan ji performed all over the world. He performed in the United States of America at the Lincoln Center Hall. He performed in Montreal, Australia in the World Exposition. He performed at the Cannes Art Festival, and he also performed in Japan at the Osaka Trade Fair. Okay, so he performed at all these places. So well known did he become internationally that an auditorium in Tehran was named after him. Tehran Mosiki Ustad Bismillah Khan. Tehran is located in Iran, and Bismillah Khan was so famous all over the world that in Tehran an auditorium has been named after him. Okay. National awards like the Padma Shri, the Padma Bhushan, and the Padma Vibhushan were conferred on him. Conferred means given or awarded. In 2000, Bismillah Khan has been awarded with all these national awards like Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, and the Padma Vibhushan. In 2001, Ustad Bismillah Khan was awarded India's highest civilian award, the Bharat Ratna, with the coveted award resting on his chest and his eyes glinting with rare happiness. He said, "All I would like to say is, teach your children music. That is Hindustan's richest tradition. Even the West is now coming to learn our music." Okay, when Ustad Bismillah Khan received India's highest civilian award, Bharat Ratna, in the year 2001, his eyes were glinting, shining. He was very happy because his hard work had been recognized, and he gave an important message to the country on that day. What's that? He told all the Indians to teach music to their children because music is the richest tradition of India. He also said that even the Western countries, Western people wanted to learn India's music. In spite of having traveled all over the world, Khan Sahib, as he is fondly called, is exceedingly fond of Banaras and Damraon, and they remain for him the most wonderful towns of the world. Although Ustad Bismillah Khan had traveled all over the world, he was given so much respect and recognition. He remained rooted to India. Benares, where he learned music, and Damraon, where he was born and brought up, were the two most wonderful towns of the world for him. Okay, he was so down to earth that although he had traveled all over the world, still he always says that he was attached to his birthplace. Hmm? A student of his once wanted him to head a Shehnai school in the USA, and the student promised to recreate the atmosphere of Banaras by replicating the temples there. But Khan Sahib asked him if he would be able to transport river Ganga as well. Okay, replicating means making a duplicate copy of something. There was a student of Ustad Bismillah Khan, and he wanted that Ustad Bismillah Khan should set up a Shehnai school in USA. He promised that he would recreate the temples. That means he would make a duplicate copy of the temples. He will build such kind of a temple like that of Benares, like that of a real Benares temple in America for Ustad, as he would miss it. Now Ustad Bismillah Khan was attached to river Ganga also, isn't it? We know it. So he asked his student that would he transport the river Ganga also to America. So he wanted to say that he could not leave India. He was attached only to the temples of Benares, not only to temples of Benares but also to the holy river Ganga. Because we saw him sitting at we had seen it, isn't it? Him sitting at the bank of river Ganga, studying and practicing and composing music. Later, he is remembered to have said, "That is why whenever I am in a foreign country, I keep yearning to see Hindustan. While in Mumbai, I think of only Benares and the holy Ganga. And while in Benares, I miss the unique Matha of Damraon." Yearning means longing. Ustad Bismillah Khan said that whenever he visited any foreign country, he longed to see India. He always had such a great desire to come back to India. He wanted to return to India. Then he says that when he was in India, in Mumbai, he yearned to visit Benares and Ganga river. He always wanted to be there near Ganga river and in Benares. And when he was in Benares, what's the thing he missed? He missed his birthplace Damraon and the Matha, where he sang Chaita and he boarded with the laddu of 1.25 kg weight by the Maharaja. Okay, what's Matha? This drink. Okay, like our lassi. Ustad Bismillah Khan's life is a perfect example of the rich cultural heritage of India, one that effortlessly accepts that a devout Muslim like him can very naturally play the Shehnai every morning at the Kashi Vishwanath temple. Devout means having strong belief in a religion, a person who has strong belief in his or her religion. Here, the writer says that Ustad Bismillah Khan was a perfect example of the rich cultural heritage of India. His work was beyond the religion barriers. Okay, although he was a strict Muslim, devoted Muslim, he followed the Muslim laws, but every morning he would play Shehnai at the Kashi Vishwanath temple, which was a Hindu temple. Okay, this shows that he did not have the barriers of religion in his mind. He was a true Indian. He considered music to be India's richest cultural heritage. Ustad Bismillah Khan passed away on 21st August 2006 at the age of 90 after a prolonged illness. He was given a state funeral and the government of India declared one day of national mourning. So Ustad Bismillah Khan had been ill for a long time and he died on 21st August 2006 at the age of 90. The entire country mourned the death of that legendary musician. There was a holiday for one day and he was given a state funeral. Okay, mourning means way of expressing sadness. Okay, so this is how our chapter ends. You should read the textbook very well, and if you have any doubts, please contact me. Okay, thank you.